listening to WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is Friday the 13th. It is the end of the week. Welcome to LoveBabz, LoveTalk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy, and I am delighted that you are with me this morning. Yesterday was a great day. I went to the Connecticut Law Fair and met up with when I got to notice that they were having a Connecticut Law Fair. I wasn't gonna go because I felt like I already know the schools I want to go to. I already talked. I never talked to them, but I know the schools I want to go to. But the ones that said no to me, I was like, they were on the list. So I was like, well, I should just go and get in their face and let them see me. I sucked my pride up because, I was feeling a little prideful about it. Wounded a little bit. Not terribly wounded, but like, oh, I didn't get in. Why didn't I get in? I'm too old to be making them kind of questions, but I went there. Not for long, but for a hot minute, couple of minutes. So when I saw the schools that I didn't get into on the list, and it was like 50 schools or some old mess. I mean, it was a real list. Wait a minute, I could pull it. Because it was at Quinnipiac. And they give you nice swag. So I got the when you get there, they give you the list. So there was a couple of schools on there that I wanted to see. And so here's the participating schools, right? Here's the list. It's like a gazillion of them, right? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So yeah, so it was about 50 schools. Almost a little more than that. Maybe 55 schools. So all the schools that I applied to were there, except one school wasn't there. Yale wasn't there. They were the only ones that wasn't there. But and then there were some schools on my list that I wanted to apply to. So it was a great fair. But what gave me such promise and such hope was I did a swing around the whole library, and I was just trying to decide because I added some new schools to my list, and I had made plans to, like, okay, in between seeing the schools that didn't let me in, see these new schools. But I never really I got to the new schools, but I didn't get a chance to talk to anybody because people were crowded around them. One was my grad school alum, CUNY. I went to Baruch, so I'm an alum of CUNY. So someone said I should apply there. So I was like, so I went to their table, but I picked up their brochure, but they had a bunch of people in front of them. So I was like, well, let me just keep it moving. And then same with New England law. I was going to apply. I was thinking about New England law too, because somebody I know was like, you should think about that. And then Suffolk, Vermont, and Western New England. So I went to Suffolk because I really wanted to go there, but the young lady she didn't know me from Adam. Like, she didn't know me from Adam. She didn't make no recognition or whatever. She just was like, this is what she said to me. Well, it's very competitive. Thank you. I took her little brochure and I was like, bye, girl, bye. I get that it's competitive, because I said, hey, I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. I applied, last year, for the 2024 year. I didn't get in. I'm going to apply again. And she's just like, okay, well, it's very competitive. So I was like, is all this going to go like this? So I made my way around to Western New England University School of Law. And I walked up and I had my name tag on because I was registered, so I had my name tag. She goes, "You're Babz Rawls-Ivy." So immediately when people do that to me, I get freaked out because I don't know where on the time frame continuum they know me. I was like, I don't know this white lady. She said, "Listen, I was hoping to meet you because you have broken the record for the most recommendations of anybody ever." I said, I don't know. I said, listen. So I immediately get on the defense. I said, listen, when I uploaded my application, I did all the things. I stepped to the number per application. She's like, no, 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 no. People were writing on your behalf unbeknownst to you. I was like, what? So she goes, listen, we were so enamored of your application. She said everybody that applied got in because people applied early. And she said usually what happens is people apply early, then they change their mind. And so we have seats available. She's like, for some reason this year we had no seats available. So she goes, we held your file hoping that you would reapply again. I was so and then we commenced to having a conversation about the kind of law I want to practice. She said, I read your file. I know your file. I feel like I know you. It was impressive. She goes, I'd love to sit on this porch. Because in my personal statement, I talk about my relationship to the porch and to the community. And it just made me so happy. I almost wanted to cry. I almost wanted to cry. I almost wanted to cry. So then I said, thank you. She said, listen, here's my card. Call me because I said, well, I'm taking the LSAT again. And she said, well, listen, when you get those scores uploaded, they'll come to us anyway if you're going to activate your file. I said, yeah, it is. She's like, okay, all right, I'll be looking for it, but call me. So I walked down a little bit of ways to Vermont Law because I wanted to meet them too because Western New England and Vermont Law were the two schools I was waitlisted at. So I go to Vermont Law and I introduce myself and the lady goes, "Oh my God, you're Babz Rawls-Ivy." I was so inspired. She was like, everybody in our office was inspired by your application. I don't know what are the chances that two schools would say the same exact thing, and I don't think this is what they say to people. I did not. I got the sense that she was genuinely glad to see me. She said, "Listen, I pulled your file. I was going to reach out to Professor Foreman." He said, "Because you are impressive." I said, well, I know my LSAT scores wasn't as high as, they probably could have been, and I'm gonna take the LSAT in October. She goes, listen, all you gotta do is call. Everything's perfect. Just call and we'll reactivate your file, and you could just sit, yeah, and yeah, when the new LSAT scores come out, they'll automatically be uploaded to the thing. I said, okay. She's like, and then we commenced to talking some more about the Yale Access to Law School program and how that program has been really good for them. It has been a wonderful pipeline. They've got, the first year they had one student, a couple of years later they got two or three students, so I so enjoy. I left it. I didn't want to talk to anybody else after that. I didn't want to talk to anybody else after those two encounters because they just made my life. They just made my life. They just made, and I had, I'm telling you, here's the little dots on the schools. CUNY and New England Law were the only ones that I wanted to talk to that were new to my list. So I was just like, now I don't know how in God's name I'm ever going to pay for law school. I don't know, but I'm not gonna. That's not a. I'll cross that bridge when the water rises. I left Quinnipiac, and I didn't even talk to the Quinnipiac people. I didn't even talk to them because I didn't get into their school, and I don't really want to go there. I just didn't like the energy. I didn't like the vibe. I didn't like the vibe the first time I went there. I only like QU because I like Marilyn Ford, who was my soror. But everybody else, I didn't really love it there. I never really felt like that was where I was going to be. But because I'm in Connecticut, how could you not apply to Quinnipiac or UConn? I didn't even go by the UConn table either. You know, there was something very I just didn't feel like Quinnipiac would be a place where I would thrive. And I didn't feel like that about UConn either. But I mean, now I know now I know something about what makes sense to me and how I feel about things. I mean, I already knew this, but I was just, I was going through the motions. I was making the applications, but I know better now. And I'm not saying Western New England and Vermont were like, like these welcoming spaces. I mean, I think they are, but I just love the familiarity that they showed me, like that was just a God wink for me. And for those that you all don't pay attention to God winks and into that whole thing, I look it up. But it just was it was beyond serendipitous. That's my favorite word, serendipity, serendipitous. And I just left feeling like I'm on the right track. I felt like that. So I feel I'm where I'm supposed to be on this trajectory. I am where I'm supposed to be. And it feels like that. It feels like that. It feels like that. So that's where I'm at. I'm I'm following the yellow brick road. So I'm gonna take this LSAT test in October. October is my month. And I don't know what this is. This won't let me in. I don't know why it won't let me in. Okay, let me just, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna shut this down and then I'm gonna let it reboot. My other desktop, my Apple, my Mac. My Mac is not letting me Mac. So that was my day yesterday. That was my day yesterday. That was my day. And the whole day just went well. I practiced my violin. I double timed my practice because I didn't practice the day before because it was so much going on. I was so tired, but I got so much done. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't practice. So I double time practiced yesterday, which was really nice. I don't know if it was nice for my neighbors. No one has thrown eggs. No one has thrown eggs at me yet. So I guess it was all right. You know, I think so. It's just one of those things. This is one of those things. So yeah, so yesterday I walked around feeling like I was excited. I just was very happy. So I needed that yesterday. That little God wink, that little push, that little girl, you got this. Because I really was like, if I apply again and I don't get in anywhere. But now I get it. Now I understand things a little differently. And I'm gonna apply to those same schools, see what happens. And I'm gonna apply as soon as I get my LSAT letter, as soon as I get my scores. And I think I could just go ahead and reapply without waiting because the scores will just come to them. So I'll just like, could you just reactivate my account? Because it's going to be the same. It's not going to be anything different. So anyway, good people. My Mac is acting Macish. It's acting like a bad apple. So I'm just waiting for it to reboot itself. There you go. I never really reboot this thing. But every so often, as Harry tells me, you have to re you have to reboot because there's stuff that needs to download, you know. So anyway. Anyway. So this morning I was up and I was reading this piece on Facebook by David Bowie's son. And this is what it is. And I was so moved by it that I'm going to take this on. And whoever's listening to me this morning, if you follow me on Facebook, you take it on too. So anyway, um, it's highlighted the man who read the world, and then quote marks. David Bowie's son launches an online book club in his honor. You know David Bowie, who was married to Iman. David Bowie's a rock star. Late, he passed. He's a rock star. Um, but anyway, his son launches an online book club in his honor. Something not well known about Bowie, he was an avid reader, sometimes finishing a book in a single day. Rockstar David Bowie was a beast of a reader, according to his son Duncan Jones. So Jones decided to start an online book club to honor his literature-loving dad. The official Instagram account of the late rock star dubbed it the Bowie Book Club. David Bowie's literary tastes were wide-ranging, including classic such as Gustav's Flaubert's, Madame Bovary, and the Iliad by Homer. Novels such as A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess and Infants of the Spring by Wallace Thurman, together with a wide variety of nonfiction works, history, biography, art, architecture, and more. Even the Beano, which I don't know what that means, but 3 years before he died, David Bowie made a list of the 100 books that had transformed his life. A list that formed something akin to an autobiography. It's telling that among Bowie's final public statement was that this list of his top 100 books was offered as part of the David Bowie Is Museum exhibit. As Bowie has apparently no memoir behind, the closest that he ventured to an autobiography is this list of books. Some he chose because he wanted his fans to read them, but many selections have a deeper resonance in his work. In that they fueled his creativity and shaped who he was. There's something about that just resonates with me. So of course I responded. With I like this. As an avid reader, what would be on my 100 list? And what would they say about me? These 100 books, what would they say about me? And if you come to my house, there are books everywhere. And I can see where my interests were over the course of my life this far. Let me begin. So I think I'm going to spend some time thinking about the 100 books that made a difference in my life, that had a profounding difference. And I could go back to the very early books when I was in when I was reading in like the third grade and all of that, like those kinds of things. I could set my mind on that. And so I'm very interested. I'm very interested in doing this because I just feel like it's just such a wonderful thing. Like that's better than just like, oh, I was born a little black child on a farm. I mean, I wasn't, but I kind of like the I kind of like the idea of I kind of like the idea of letting the 100 books tell the world who I am, or a piece of one, or, some of who I am. I mean, and then the people who know me best will just fill in the rest, and my kids will fill in the rest, and people will fill in the rest. But 100 books, and I know I've read 100 books in my life. I probably read way more than that. I just start compiling my list. So if you're listening to me, what would be on your 100 book list? Paul Bass, what would be on your 100 book list? I would have to really go through it. And I could see in my house. I mean, there's like 1,000 books in here, literally. I could see from where I am. And I can tell you when I got a book, and when I got it, what I was thinking at that particular time. I've got art books that I really love, particularly African art books, African art jewelry books, African design, like home design aesthetic. Um, I've got cookbooks because when I was a chef, I had lots of cookbooks. And I still like a good cookbook. I still, when I go to a bookstore, I go to the cookbook section and peruse. I still like a good cookbook. And I've bought some recently. I mean, so I tell you what I do lack though, that I'm not strong in is biography. I've not read enough biography or memoirs. I've not done enough of that kind of reading, other people's stories. Um, I'm still reading the Arthur Ashe book by and the guy was on my show some years ago. He's a friend and a fan of Arthur Ashe. So I've got to finish that book, and I've been reading this book for like damn near 2, 3 years now. Because I keep misplacing it. That's why I put it down, and then I pick up other stuff. I still want to read the oh there, I see the Arthur Ashe book. It's over there. I want to finish up the I want to start reading Frederick Douglass's book by Dr. Blight. I'm really fascinated in reading that. I'm really interested in reading that. So I have to step up my reading game because reading. But I am quite fascinated. So uh uh I'm interested. So yeah, so that's been on my mind this morning since I read it early this morning and thinking about this. I've got enough notebooks and notepads where I could just start jotting down my 100 books and just sort of going through. I mean, I could look around my space and tell you, the books that I read when and why I'm reading them and how I got them and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, it really is just fascinating to see all the facets of my life. I never thought about it this way. So that little piece on Facebook really got me to look at my life in a very different sort of way. A very, very different sort of way. Fascinating stuff. So I'm gonna start that. And I'm not gonna wait. I mean, I don't think I'm going anywhere. And the thing about list, you could subtract and add as things come and go. Simple. Do you know what I mean? Like you could add and subtract as things come and go. You don't have to be wedded to uh you don't have to be wedded to keeping that list static, that you can make it movable. So I think that's what we're gonna do. I mean, we all do this kind of thing with films, the films that you love, like the 10 best films that you've ever loved or that kind of thing. It's that kind of vibe. So anyway, I'm gonna give that some thought about these books, and see how fast I could get to done. See, I don't want it to take like forever. Like this can't take, you know, forever and a day because I want a running list. so that and keep it handy so that as a book moves me, I can say, okay, this is it. I don't think I could put it in any sort of order. Maybe I'll try to group it if I can remember. I mean, I think I can remember the earliest books, as a matter of fact. I remember the earliest book. The ones that stick out to me that were profoundly changing, even in the like second grade. Even in the second grade, I remember reading The Peculiar Mrs. Pickett. I still remember this book because in the story, the little girl, she was a white girl. I didn't really pick up that she was white until much later. I mean, of course I could see she was white, but I had no consciousness about black, white, or otherwise. She was just a little girl. And she had a pet sloth. And her neighbor was Mrs. Pickett, I believe. And Mrs. Pickett, I guess if I thought about it, Mrs. Pickett might have been a witch, but she was like magical in some kind of way, not in a harmful way. It was just a wonderful little story. I looked it up some years ago. Uh, and it's still around. And yeah. Yeah, she was a witch. Oh, I'm sorry. She was a witch, but she was a nice witch. There's a whole bunch of little, yeah, The Peculiar Mrs. Pickett. Oh, that damn book is, oh, there you go. So you could get it. I might, yeah. So Carol and Bobby's parents have hired a babysitter, Miss Pickett. The first time they see her, she opens the front gate by looking at it and later turns their bedtime milk and cookies into chocolate malt and strawberry soda. But that doesn't explain why her suitcase gives off green smoke. Yeah. Yeah, I was about 7, I guess, when I read this book. Yeah, so The Peculiar Mrs. Pickett by Nancy R. Julian. I remember this book. And then there's another book about a girl with a sloth, but I don't remember that book. I remember the book, but I just don't remember. But I remember this story with these little kids. And I thought it was such a magical book. I think that's how I began to love magic the way I do. Serendipitous things and all that kind of stuff. So this was such a good book. Anyway, that was a that was a that was such a good it was such a profound affecting book on me. Uh uh Now I gotta find the other book that I remember in my mind. I don't remember that. Anyway, that was such a good The Peculiar Mrs. Pickett. I really enjoyed that. I really did. So there was another book about a girl and a sloth. I remember so vividly. I can't call the title. And it wasn't called The Little Girl and the Sloth. It wasn't even had anything in the title called sloth, you know. So I don't know. I'll find it. Anyway, so yeah. The Peculiar Mrs. Pickett will probably be my very first book that I will put on my list. That's the one I can remember reading on my own, just reading on my own, like I checked it out of the school library. And I've been a library kid ever since. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been a library kid ever since. Uh, I think my love of libraries came because, when I was a kid, we had libraries in school. And so, we'd spend time in the library. You could check out a library book. get it stamped, bring it back, take it home, the whole thing. And then once a month we'd go to like the library downtown, on the green. Uh and in those days, it really was like going to Hogwarts. It was all big and dusty. Not like it is now, very welcoming, very friendly, very demure. Not like it is now. Uh, it was very different, it just seemed otherworldly, you know. So, uh, so it was really, really, it was really such a wonderful introduction to libraries. And I've had a library card ever since, ever since I was a little kid, you know, seriously. So, um, so, so I said I ought to say that I'm still when my kids started showing up, when my children started arriving, we got them library cards, and we'd go to the library, and we'd go to, because New Haven is library rich. Sometimes we forget that. But we are library rich, so I take them to the Middle Library in Westville. I take them downtown to the library. But one of our favorite libraries was going to the Hamden Library. Um, we just liked going to the Hamden Library. It was easy parking. It was all the good stuff. So we'd go there. I like going to the Mitchell Library too. That was another favorite haunt because they always had activities. So we spend time up there. And they got their own library cards. They signed their little names, the whole thing. And we would go every week and they would check out all these books. And then they would read them and then we would take them back. It was great. It was great. Those were some good times. I still like a library, but I really like buying books too. But I really would like to utilize my library more because there are books I just don't want to buy, but I think I want to read. So getting back into going to the library is probably a good idea. And I like the fact that when you go to the library, you have a finite time to read the damn book and then get it back. So if you buy a book, you could stick it somewhere and never see it again for months and months and months. Raises my hand to say, yes, that's what I do. So yeah, so I feel like that was very serendipitous to think about the 100 books. And I'm gonna go to the Bowie Book Club on Instagram and see what's happening, see what they're talking about, and then follow along. I tell you what, I follow along Barack Obama's uh I follow along his reading list, and he has he is a you talk about somebody who's an avid reader. And I know he's not president anymore, but I know damn well he's busy. It's like, I was like, I can't keep up. I cannot keep up with Barack Obama's reading. And we are the same damn age. Well, he might be like 1 or 2 years older than me, but still, uh, I don't know how, I don't know how, he does it. I don't know how he does it. So, it's a fascinating thing, but he gets it in. So I'm gonna find my way to it. And I'm gonna make my way. So I'm gonna make my way to it. I'm already following. Okay, how do I follow the book club? I see all the things, but I don't see. Oh, this is gonna get on my nerves. I think it's called I'm already following. I don't want to follow that. I want to follow the book club. Like, he's dead. So I don't know if I want to follow him like that. We'll see what comes up. I'm doing a search. See, all the stuff comes up. Now I just gotta find it. Okay. Well, it might be called I might be reading it wrong. Like it might be called something else. So now I gotta go. Now I gotta go and look it up again. I'll look it up. Uh, I'll look it up. There's a lot going on. I don't know if anybody's going to the Q House uh gala. I'm gonna be their red carpet person. I'm gonna be on the red carpet talking to people, and then I think I'm gonna be the MC for a very small program. So I'm gonna do that. I think that's next at the end of the month, and then I gotta send some dates to somebody for their show. Okay, I will do that, and then let's see, what else is going on? I'm just trying to find something. Now it's gonna drive me nuts. And you know what? I don't know why I'm trying to look for it like this, because it would not be in my. It might be. I have to go like this. See how I sent it. If y'all are fans of listening to learn, out of the CLP world, um, the Community Leadership Program, Launch Consulting, today's the last day at noon or this morning or midnight to apply so that you could go on retreat. It's a wonderful, it's a wonderful, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to strengthen your leadership skills from another perspective, from the perspective of listening. So if you've never done it, this would be a good time to do it. I did it last year. It was so enriching and rewarding, you know. So, okay, so it is a David Bowie account. Okay. It is David Bowie, not just David Bowie Book Club. All right. So I gotta follow it like that. Stay on top of it. I'm a fan, so we'll see what happens. Oh, let me see what else it says. There's a lot going on. David Bowie had a life. He had a big, big life. That's fine. We all should be so celebrated. Uh, we all should be so celebrated. Anyway, well, I'm gonna keep it up until I don't. If it gets to be too much, I'll just get rid of it. You know, I'll get rid of it. But right now, it'll I'll keep it up. So anyway, oh gosh, it's 9:48. The morning is flying by. There was something happening at Lawrence Street Plaza Thursday night. Oh, they closed that road to vehicle traffic so that people could like walk and be hanging out and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty nice. I like that. They should do that in a bunch of neighborhoods, see what happens. I dare say do it in this neighborhood, see what happens. I mean, so many one-way streets. I don't know what street they could do it on because it would just be maddening. Like you couldn't do it on Ivy Street because people would just be out there bag. I can't get down the street. You know, it might be a little maddening. So anyway, but wherever you could do it, you should do it. It'd be nice to have more pedestrian spaces for people to gather and to congregate. To gather and to congregate. I like that very, very much. See how it goes. See what happens. I like it. 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 Paul, you did a tiny desk yesterday. Paul's music box. Paul's music box. He has all the musicians on. I think, Paul, you probably were a musician in another life. Had to be. I bet you were a musician in another life. I bet you. You know, when people have an affinity for things that they themselves don't do, I believe that they must have been that in another life. You know, I get it. I get it. Well, I don't know if I think I was a chanteuse in another life. You know, like a torch singer. Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky. Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together. Yeah, I think in my past life, I was a torch singer. I was a torch singer. I was a queen. I was a captain. I was a general. I'm just going by what I like to think I was, what I like to think I would be. I don't know. So anyway, still momentum on the Harris Walls campaign. They're still going strong. I guess Donald Trump is like uh I'm not debating you again. I'm not doing that. I was like, okay. And I don't know how you running too. So whoever decides, I don't know if you get to decide that. But I guess you do get to decide if you don't like show up, you know. And anyway, it's just funny. He's like, I'm not I'm not I'm not sharing my I'm not sharing the stage with that woman again. Oh. So I was like, okay, all right, there we go. Why do I have her birthday for the 14th? I don't know. I'll just keep it on the 13th. I mean, I'll keep it on the 14th. Today is Marquisha's birthday. Happy birthday, Marquisha. There's a couple of birthdays. I think my brother's wedding anniversary is today. I think. I don't know. Happy anniversary, Roberto. I'm not sure. Sometimes he listens, sometimes he doesn't. He's working. High five to the public works folks. Y'all out there doing keeping our streets clean, moving the refuse. Thank you very much. We are desperately in need of that. You do us a great service. So thank you. So I put a question to Paul and Tom Breen yesterday because I talked about this last week. Um, who is responsible for cleaning up crime scenes? Is it the police or is it the citizens? Who is responsible? Do you know what I mean? Like if there's a murderer shooting some violent act. I mean, we know when there's a car wreck, they come and move the car. They don't necessarily clean up all the glass, but they move the vehicle. If you crash into somebody's house, they're going to come get the car. But if somebody is violently harmed, killed or whatever, and there's blood everywhere, and then they quarantine things off with that yellow tape, and they all have on gloves. When they dispense with that, who is responsible for cleaning that up? And I asked this question because Lauren Anderson over at Possible Futures had a situation where somebody was shot up the block and they made it to Possible Futures to the benches and bled all over the place. The police came, blocked the street, got all the evidence that they, the shells and all the whatever they got. And left their gloves, left the yellow tape, left some other stuff. And so she was like, are they going to come back and get this? And she couldn't get anybody to answer. Because, when you call the police department on a non-emergency number, you'd be lucky if they answer the phone. I would much rather them to have a damn voice message machine. At least you could feel like you left a message. You ever call the non-emergency number? It just rings and rings. And then when they answer, it's as if you've disturbed them and pulled them away from their TV show. Swear to God. If you don't believe me, call the non-emergency number and see the attitude that you get when they answer that damn phone. If they answer the phone. So she called down there. She didn't get anybody. She called City Hall. And City Hall is another black hole. It's just a black hole. You call. Like I called and I had to talk to the CAO. I don't understand this CAO. Does he even like being CAO, Sean? Does he like being CAO? I mean, what is he doing? He can't return anybody's calls. So anyway, she calls to the CAO, or, you can't really get the mayor, which is fine. I don't want to talk to him. No way. I guess Sean calls her back and leaves her some vague ass message. Am I the only one that just misses customer service? Can we just get customer service back in all the spaces that is needed? So anyway, I just wonder. I don't know if it's Public Works, Harry. Somebody has to call Public Works. Is that the police department that calls Public Works? Or is it the citizen that calls Public Works? Who calls whom? And when? Who is responsible for cleaning up crime scenes? This cannot be a hard damn answer. Now, I know when I drive by scenes where teddy bears and candles are all over the place, those people clean it up. So I know there's no customer service. I know that. There's no customer service, not just government, Harry. At the doctor's office, there's no customer service anywhere. There's none. There's no such thing. We should just strike customer service from the books. I'm going to take a break, and I'll come back and riff-raff some more about there's no customer service. I don't even know who to complain to. Okay, I'll be back.
Hi, this is Babz Rawls-Ivy from New Haven, Connecticut, and you're listening to WNHHLP 103.5 FM, streaming live at newhavenindependent.org.